we're going to hear about a cult leader victim who bravely gave the tip of his ear to save racism everywhere.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, if you're anything like me, once we've established that Trump was in fact okay,
there's no place in America for this kind of violence.
And that political violence has never been okay. It should never be normalized, and condolences to the gentleman who lost his life. If you're like me, you thought just one thing during the aftermath of Trump's Pennsylvania rally.
Please don't let him be black. Please, Lord, do not let this be a black person. Please, not this time, Lord, not a black person. Please don't let him be black. Amen.
And fortunately, we were... Huh? What's that? Oh, there were other reactions? There were also several variations of Trump Smollett, or the formal Donald J. Smollett. Too many, in fact, for me to list. But I will say here, we were left with a number of questions.
Hey, I got some old ketchup in my pocket. Oh, yeah, he did it.
Sorry. That's my bad. That was the wrong video. Sorry. I meant these questions.
I mean, it's a little weird, you know, that this is America and shooters don't miss unless they're hired to. People often flee the scene of a shooting, but these people did not. Instead, they crouched down not enough to protect themselves, just enough so they could keep recording. And when they saw that the Cheeto Puff was okay, they erupted into applause, and the Secret Service still did not rush him off a stage because there was no active threat perceived, even though it had not been declared that the shooter had been apprehended. And I'm just wondering something that I can't say out loud.
We had other questions like, who wrote this statement? This man posts every single day, multiple times a day, and we know exactly what his writing looks like. Something that flows from beginning to end without any grammatical or spelling errors, raises more questions than it answers. You actually would have made me feel more confident that he was okay if you would have sat on the keyboard. But I'm also wondering this question: how will this whole incident affect Trump's relationship with the black community? There it is. Yeah, there it is. Yes, because that train is never late. Not only are we criminals who are drawn to criminality, we also praise being shot. That gem, by the way, from Forbes, of all people, who has always had their ears to the streets. Here's a question. How soon is that merch gonna come out? Less than 24 hours. There it is. Wait a minute. Could we go back to that last one, though, for a second? Can we go back to that last one? Is that you, Candace? Of course you did. Of course you interjected yourself in this. I'm going to have to record a whole separate video to deal with you. By the way, the link will be in the description. I'm also wondering, how soon will Biden be blamed?
I believe that much of the rhetoric from the left has escalated to this moment. Just last week, we saw Joe Biden trying to excuse his poor performance at the debate and get that behind him and say, now we need to put Trump in a bullseye. President Trump was literally put in a bullseye after the president of the United States, the sitting president of the United States, called for him to be put in a bullseye.
I'd like to clarify what you just said. Do you believe that President Joe Biden bears any responsibility for what happened today, or does the responsibility for the shooting lie with the shooter?
I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible for the shooting today.
Well, the merge took less than 24 hours. That took less than 24 minutes. But all of that, the merge, the bad faith argument, the boilerplate statement, that was all pretty predictable. One thing I could at least be thankful for, at least nobody tried to blame DEI.
How the hell did he get on top of that roof? If you look at the pictures, he didn't go through the top of the roof. There had to be a ladder or something. Somebody really dropped the ball. You've got a DEI, basically a DEI initiative person who heads up our Secret Service. You know, she was working at Pepsi before this. I know she was a former Secret Service agent, but still, this is what happens when you don't put the best players in. It's a complete failure.
Yeah, man, I ain't got it. I ain't got it. I get you next week. I get my check. I get my check next week. I got you. Yeah. I mean, who knew? Who knew? I thought that was my bad. I thought it was no way. I thought it was no way. I mean, you can't put anything past Fox News. I mean, other than honest reporting.
Now, a white 20-year-old Thomas Matthews Crooks was labeled by the FBI as the person responsible for the attempt on Donald Trump. It's not black, it's not brown, not Asian, not Muslim, maybe not LGBTQ, not a woman, but a 20-year-old white man whose voting record was pulled, and he's a registered Republican. Now, if 2 + 2 is 4, and 5 + 5 is 10, what the hell is this? Before the maggots decide that they're going to start taking down their tweets and videos about this being a liberal attack, the Democrats wanted this, Joe Biden is responsible, before all of that gets taken down, I wonder, have you checked the call coming from inside the house?
Now, I will challenge one thing that she said. I don't see those tweets coming down. No. I don't see those tweets coming down. They have learned from Trump himself never to apologize, even when it is painfully clear how wrong you are. However, of all the reactions that I've seen all around the web, the best summation of everything I have seen and heard came from this TikToker, Dana S. Inspired.
Well, folks, I tried. I really did. I managed to squeeze out some genuine empathy for Orangina, and I thought I did a pretty good job. And then I made the mistake of looking at Elon's ex, and I remembered why the right is not compatible with empathy. And then I remembered Paul Pelosi getting hit over the head with a hammer and mocked by Schlumper and Company.
Oh, y'all remember that.
And we'll stand up to crazy Nancy Pelosi, who ruined San Francisco. How's her husband doing, by the way? Anybody know?
That is for the what would Trump have said crowd. We actually know. You know what? My bad, Dana. I'm going to let you cook.
Well, folks, I tried. I really did. I managed to squeeze out some genuine empathy for Orangina, and I thought I did a pretty good job. And then I made the mistake of looking at Elon's ex, and I remembered why the right is not compatible with empathy. And then I remembered Paul Pelosi getting hit over the head with a hammer and mocked by Schlumper and Company. I remembered the image of bound, gagged, and hog-tied Joe Biden that Schlumper tweeted to the world. I remembered the assassination threats against Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, and how 1 in 6 election officials have experienced threats because of their job, ranging from death threats that named officials young children to racist and gendered harassment by the right. I remembered MTG calling for the execution of Barack Obama, and Paul Gosar posting an animated video depicting him unaliving AOC. I remembered the far-right's violence against minority communities in Charleston, Pittsburgh, El Paso, Buffalo, Jacksonville, etc., etc., etc. I remembered Trump calling for people at his rallies to be harmed, and how he wanted to shoot protesters in the legs. And of course, I remembered January 6th, and how all our lawmakers' lives were in grave danger, and our Capitol police were pummeled and traumatized for Trump's adrenaline rush of vengeance for a country that kicked him to the curb. I remembered E. Jean and dozens of women who faced violence at Trump's own hands. And then I caught wind of J.D. Vance and all the wannabe up Trump's ass peanut gallery, who waited about 2.5 seconds before claiming that Joe Biden's campaign rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination. And Representative Mike Collins going one step further, claiming Biden sent the orders. I remembered lock her up and knock the crap out of them, and good people on both sides, and when the looting starts, the shooting starts, and stand back and stand by. And I remembered that between 2013 and 2022, 75% of murders committed by extremists were caused by right-wing extremists, with only 4% caused by left-wing extremists. Of course, I don't advocate, celebrate, or condone violence. That's what the other side does. But I draw the line at feeling compassion for a man who we all know would be making a joke about the shooter having poor aim if this had happened to Joe Biden. I'm not going to go down the road with all the conspiracy theorists, although I find it baffling that his security team is so incompetent. And for the life of me, I don't understand how a man who was just shot at was able to stick his head above the Secret Service human shield that was huddled around him right after the shooting, so he could fist pump the air and encourage his voters to fight. You'd think the folks who are supposed to be experts at protecting the president's noggin would have been a little uncomfortable with giving the shooter a second chance at blowing it to smithereens. Folks, I think we all know what's in store for us. We're going to see the biggest misuse of martyrdom there ever was. We're going to see mediocre men marinating in victimhood, tossing out thinly veiled calls for retribution and dog whistle after dog whistle for MAGA minions to avenge the radical left. Joe Biden will be painted as a cunning force of evil, at least when he can remember where he is and when to take his Alzheimer's meds. It's gonna be torture. Absolute frickin' torture. And instead of talking about the corroborated testimony of young girls who were allegedly violated at the hands of the depraved sociopath who happens to be the Republican nominee, we're going to hear about a cult leader victim who bravely gave the tip of his ear to save racism everywhere. Yeah. Well, all I can say is I'm going to be sure to remember all the folks who feared for their safety because of Orangina Pervalicious Felonious Schlumper McPhee's thin-skinned rhetoric over the years. And I'm going to remind the bad actors that malevolent men don't get to turn victimhood into victory. Yeah.